Hey, is this Shedeur? Hey, this is Mickey Loomis here, the GM of the New Orleans Saints. How you doing? This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man. We're gonna take you with our next pick right here, man.
It's ain't gonna be nothing to do.
But you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, man. Sorry about that.
What does that mean?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your dog, Tidy checking in with a video. Hey, let's get straight to the business on this, man. Shedeur Sanders was prank call. That's what we just watched. He was prank call over the during this weekend's draft. And it has came out that the prank was linked to Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbricht's son. The video we just watched was Ulbricht's son, and his name is Jax, and a friend or an associate, I'm assuming they're friends, prank calling Shedeur Sanders. And as we know, Shedeur Sanders slid dramatically down the draft board this weekend. He was eventually taken in the 5th round, with most people assuming that he'd be a first round pick. During the waiting period, this phone call happened, and that combined with the Shedeur watch, it made news. With Jax, being the person responsible for this is just not a good look for the Atlanta Falcons. It's not a good look at all for the Falcons. You did not want to be the team, the NFL team, linked to this at all. You did not want to be that team. And unfortunately for us, here we are again, talking about more egg on our face, more Atlanta Falcons controversy. Now, I do want to point out that the Atlanta Falcons, they did release a statement today. And, they took responsibility for it, and they issued an apology. I'm going to try my best not to bore you. I'm going to read the statement here by the Falcons. It says, early in the week, Jax Ulbricht, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbricht, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur Sanders from an open iPad while visiting his parents' home, and wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. Jeff Ulbricht was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank, and was made aware of the above only after the fact. The Atlanta Falcons do not condone this behavior and send our sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family, who we have been in contact with, to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jax to the Sanders family. We have also been in contact with the NFL, and we will continue to cooperate fully with any inquiries we may receive from the NFL league office. We are thoroughly reviewing the protocols and updating it if necessary to help prevent any incident like this happening again. Signed, the Falcons. You just don't want to have to put that statement out on a Sunday. You don't want to have to release that statement. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to come off as I'm all high and mighty. Trust me when I tell you this. When it came to prank calls in my younger years, I was one of the kings at doing it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it, got a kick out of it. And I think, most young guys did. Here's the thing. You prank calling somebody at 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. That's suspected, adolescent behavior. When you're 21 years old, you are an adult. You are a young adult, but you still are an adult. You can walk in the store, you can buy liquor. You can go in any dispensary and buy marijuana. You can go fight for your country. You are an an adult. You're no longer a teenager. In fact, you're 2 years removed from your teenage years. You're still a young adult. You're still going to make mistakes. The thing about when I prank called people back in the day, it was some of my friends or just some random numbers I might have found in a phone book. I'm telling y'all my age. We still had phone books back then. But this was a national story because one is the NFL draft, and two, Shedeur Sanders not being taken into the 5th round became such a polarizing story, such a polarizing topic. Everybody was talking about this. Even President Donald Trump chimed in. When the president chimes in, it's a big story. It's a huge story, especially when it's concerning something that we don't deem as politics. And I'm not here to talk politics, but I don't have to tell anybody who's watching how influential and powerful and a cult-like following, and I say that respectfully, that President Trump has. So when he talks, it's a national story. Now, I do want to point out, Jack Obrich did issue an apology via Instagram, and I want to take a moment to read what he put up on his Instagram. Jack Obrich says, on Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of my greatest moments of life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today. Hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. So it seems that Jax did talk to Shakur and apologize, and obviously that was something that I'm sure his father, his parents made him do quite naturally. Now, this is the thing. The Falcons just had what we deem early one of their best drafts in a long, long time. The consensus of the fan base was like, yeah, we knocked this draft out of the park. We did a great job. The national media, hey, the Falcons had a great draft. The local media, man, the Falcons had a great draft. It seems like everybody from every facet is talking about the Falcons finally having a great draft. There were no controversial picks this time. There were no taking a running back in the top 8. There was no taking a tight end in the top 4. We took talented guys in position of need early in the draft, and everybody has been applauding that. So to have this news come out, it takes some of the wind out of, quote unquote, an early celebration for how well we did in the draft. And I know I would be willing to bet money on this. Arthur Blank was furious when he found out. Arthur Blank is probably still furious right now. You just don't want to be attached to this. Because, see, this is the thing with the Shedeur Sanders sliding to the 5th round. There are a significant amount of people that feel like the NFL owners were colluding against him. They plan to teach Deion Sanders a lesson, him and his quote unquote arrogant son. You're not bigger than the program. There is a very significant amount of people that think that there was more to this in regards to Shedeur Sanders falling in the draft. Now, with that said, when it comes to fruition, that this prank call wasn't because somebody found Shedeur's cell phone number on the internet, or somebody for Verizon or T-Mobile gave it to somebody to make a prank. It came from it was linked to an NFL team, the Atlanta Falcons, who's linked to the NFL. So it was a inside job. Just being honest. It was an inside job. Now those same people who think there was a plot against Shedeur saying, aha, see, look at that. Not only did they plan to teach him a lesson, they also wanted to humiliate him. Is that the case? I don't know. I don't think so, but I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Really, not much surprises me in today's age. It really doesn't. Now, before I wrap this up, I also read this evening that the NFL is going to look further into the matter. In other words, we're going to investigate. No NFL team wants the NFL to investigate them. So they're going to dig deeper into this. I also read an article from I think it was Pro Football Talk, where they're going to look to see what kind of role Jeff Ulbrich played in this. Was Jeff Ulbrich as innocent as this initial story said he was? Was this just a honest iPad mistake? Or did Jeff Ulbrich play some type of significant part in his son getting that number? Now, I would like to think that Jeff Ulbrich would never do anything like that. I would like to think that. But like I said, in today's world, nothing really surprises me anymore. Now, I know some are thinking, and some plenty of people have asked me, hey, Toddy, are we going to get fined? Are they going to take a draft pick? I don't know. At this point, as I record this, I don't know. Once again, the NFL is investigating. The last time the NFL told us that they were looking into something or investigating us, we lost a draft pick because of Kirk Cousins tampering, which coincidentally was almost the same time last year. So it's just really a case of if it ain't one thing, it's another when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons. When it seems like we're going to have a draft weekend and finally celebrate, feel good about the team, feel good about the direction the franchise is headed, bam, here's some more egg on your face. But we will continue to watch this, and if anything new comes out, we'll continue to come back and we'll come on here and we're going to report on it. But listen, y'all, we really got to talk about this. I want to know y'all thoughts. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's not a big deal? Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's significant? Do you think we're gonna, get fined or punished by the NFL? Do you think Jeff Ulbrich is as innocent in this as he has proclaimed? I don't know, but I want you guys to tell me what you think. So let's chop it up in the comment section, and I'll see y'all the next time I see y'all. Peace.